Star Wars collectors, welcome to another Bossk's Bounty video and welcome to episode 12 of Ask Bossk's Bounty. As you all know by now, I'm sure, this is the series where you get to ask me questions in the comment section below, and each week I answer them within the videos. If you do have a question for next week's episode, be sure to leave it in the comment section below and hopefully your question will be read out and answered. So then guys, we have a lot to go through this week, so if you like this video, don't forget to drop a like down below, subscribe if you're new, and we'll get straight on to the first question. First question is from Cheesy Knack, I think, or KNAC. Do you think they'll ever come out with a Republic Commando in the 6-inch Black Series line? So I think it's completely possible that they will do that, especially with the Gamestop exclusive Gaming Greats line that they're starting to do. I think we've got the Battle Droid coming, and we have the Revan figure coming, the white Revan. So it's entirely possible that they'll go back to the Republic Commando games and create a figure from there. Who knows? They've done it in the 3.75-inch line before with the Scorch figure, and I think there's probably some others that I can't think of right now. But I think it's entirely possible. Why not? Kerry Mahoney says, "Hey Bossk, who is your favourite Imperial officer in all of Star Wars?" First of all, great name, Kerry Mahoney. Police Academy, one of my top 5 favourite films from the 80s, I think. When I was a kid, I used to watch that a lot. I've probably seen it more times than any other film apart from the Star Wars franchise. So great name, Kerry Mahoney. In terms of the favourite Imperial officer in Star Wars, I'd have to go with General Veers. Here he is in the 6-inch line. Absolutely phenomenal figure. And obviously the original there. This is an original 1981 or 80, I think, Imperial Commander. And obviously that is General Veers as well. So he would be my favourite. He was great in The Empire Strikes Back. Jason Thornton Sawnby says, "This may be a blasphemous question. Should have Hasbro corrected Kenner's mistakes, e.g. given a blue lightsaber, not yellow, or give Chewie a proper crossbow style weapon?" So I think you might be referring to the retro collection, because obviously when we have had a Chewbacca in the new vintage collection and whatever, he does have his bowcaster. So perhaps you're saying that in the retro collection they should have corrected that. And with the brand new Luke Bespin that has been announced or rumoured to be in the Empire Strikes Back wave, should they give him a blue lightsaber instead of a yellow lightsaber? And is that a blasphemous question? Yes, it is, Jason. It is a blasphemous question. It's a retro collection. They should just keep them exactly how they are. I'm not 100% convinced about these anyway. I collect the vintage ones, and with that big red sticker there, I'm still not sold on them, if I'm perfectly honest. I really do hate all this around the edge, all this sort of wear that they've put on there. But no, if they're going to do it, which they are, then they need to keep them exactly how they came back in the day, and that includes with the mistakes that Kenner made back in the day. So while we're on the subject of the retro collection, I didn't actually make a video regarding the rumour report from Yakface for the Empire Strikes Back wave and what those figures are going to be in that wave. So we're just going to go quickly through them now. So we've got the Luke Skywalker Bespin, phenomenal figure, great figure back in the day. So that's going to be one of them. We've got Lando Calrissian, classic Empire Strikes Back character. He'll be in his blue uniform on that classic card back. We've got Han Solo. He's going to be the Bespin one, I would imagine. He hasn't put whether it's Hoth or anything like that. So I would imagine that would be Bespin Han Solo. That is one of the classic Star Wars figures from back in the day. Princess Leia Organa. So that's, again, that doesn't say Hoth next to it. So I presume that's going to be the one in her Bespin gown. Again, a great figure from back in the day and a lovely card back. Carrie Fisher looks amazing on that card back. Boba Fett or Boba Fett, whichever way you say it. Again, on that classic Empire Strikes Back card back. They won't go for the blue one, I very much doubt, because obviously that's from Return of the Jedi. And then we have Yoda, which is still a great Yoda figure. One of the best. And yeah, so that'll be on that classic card back as well. So there you go then. That is the rumour report for the retro collection that we can expect. They'll probably be dropping in May. Nathan Rosario says, "When it comes to the retro collection, what would you prefer? Hasbro creating more of the original 96 carded figures from the Kenner line, unmade figures from the OT, or all new figures sculpted in that style from new media like Rogue One, The Mandalorian, Clone Wars, etc." So I think I would go for the middle one of your question there, unmade figures from the OT. In my opinion, that's what the retro collection should have been. The best figure in the first wave was the Tarkin figure that you got with that game. We are apparently going to be getting another board game, the Hoth board game. Just throw an image up for you there if you're not familiar with what that is. And hopefully that will come with another figure that was unmade back in the day. Maybe a General Riken or something like that. Me personally, that's the route that I would have preferred them to go down. As I mentioned before, I'm not 100% convinced about the retro collection. I think they look pretty cool and everything. But I don't know. I would have preferred it if we'd got all the figures that we never got back in the day. Like the Rebel Fleet Trooper, Tarkin, you know. If they'd done it that way round, that would have been better. In terms of new media, from like Rogue One and Mandalorian and things like that, I think really they need to concentrate on the Black Series and the Vintage Collection for those figures. It's modern product, so we need modern figures for those lines. When you're harking back to the days of the original trilogy and the original Kenner line, then I think it just would have been nice if they would really concentrated on making figures that we'd never had before. Uncle Owen, Aunt Beru, people like that. But they've gone down this route, and the next wave is going to be the Empire Strikes Back. So no going back now. Martin Anderson says, will there be a wave 3 in the archive collection? So this is the archive collection right here. This is the Bossk in 6-inch. Now this is one of the lines that's gone a bit quiet in my opinion. Obviously we've heard about what's coming in the retro collection. We've heard about what's coming in the Black Series. And we've heard about what's coming in the vintage collection, albeit not too much until Toy Fair, hopefully. But in terms of the archive collection, that's gone a little bit quiet. Now, I'm not sure why that is. Maybe they're waiting for Toy Fair to sort of announce some more that are going to be coming up. I think we've only had the first 2 waves. So potentially there is scope for a wave 3. I'm sure there's other Black Series figures that are still hard to get, expensive on the secondary market, that they could stick on the archive card back. I do like the card back. I have the Bossk there, as you can see. But as I say, it's gone a little bit quiet. So Hasbro said it was pretty successful and they were looking to do more. But I think that was after Wave 1. Perhaps Wave 2 didn't really sell as well. To be honest, I didn't see much of Wave 2 in the stores and what have you. It was only, you know, we saw a lot of Wave 1. But who knows? If you hear anything, let me know in the comment section below. Star Wars Theory Pro Fan says, do you agree that the best Forcelink action figure is the Emperor? It is in his opinion. So I would possibly say it is one of the best. I would also argue that this ObiWan Kenobi is also one of the best, if not the best. The facial sculpt for ObiWan Kenobi, or old Ben, on this particular figure is phenomenal. They've got his gown and everything perfect. They've got the head perfect. Obviously it is soft vinyl rather than being soft goods, but for a 3.75 inch 5POA figure, I don't think you can get much better than this. But yeah, I totally agree. The Emperor is also a phenomenal figure in that line. They've just got the facial sculpts on those 2 figures absolutely nailed. Aimbot says, do you collect the Galaxy of Adventures line? Unfortunately not. No, they're not really for me. I prefer the sort of more adult orientated figures. I think those are pretty much for the kids, with all like power punches and all that kind of stuff. It's not really my bag. Darth Rock One says, great video as always. Thank you very much, mate. I really do appreciate that. What's the one and only figure you would want in 2020? I think anyone that's been watching all of my videos all the way through will probably know this by now. The figure that I want most in 2020 in the vintage collection, or the Black Series for that matter, I'd probably buy both, is the Ugnaught Quill from The Mandalorian. I think he's possibly one of the best characters that have come out of Star Wars for a very long time, and I just think they can do a great job with that figure, and I would love to have it. Star Wars and Michael Meyer Mask asks, what is your favourite original vintage Star Wars Kenner figure? Okay, so predictable time, but it's Bossk. Look at that. Great figure. It's this figure that got me into collecting Star Wars figures, you know, after I'd sort of grown up a little bit and sold all my original toys from when I used to play with them in the 80s. When I got back into it in the 90s, you know, seeing him again sitting there in a secondhand store or something like that, I don't know, that was like, man, I wish I had all those again. And yeah, since then obviously they've come out with some pretty awesome Bosks, so yeah, it's got to be him. If not him, then there's a couple of others that I really do, or I'm really fond of. One of them is the R5D4 figure. This one just screams Star Wars for me. you know, had a very small part in the film, but a pretty important part as well, because obviously if he didn't go wrong as such or break down, then R2-D2 would never have ended up with Luke Skywalker. So yeah, so those two spring to mind. David Balon says, this video was amazing. How are you? Can I ask you a question? Do you think they'll make a new Star Destroyer in the vintage collection as a playset or as a model? First of all, thank you very much, David. I really appreciate that. I don't know. I think a Star Destroyer as a model or a ship probably is a little bit too big. It's going to be completely out of scale with everything else, although I do realise that scale isn't really an issue when you come to like an X-Wing, an A-Wing, a skiff. You know, these things are always out of scale, and they're supposed to be, you know, for toys, essentially for figures. So, you know, your X-Wing Luke is going to fit in the cockpit of an X-Wing, but when he stands on something else, he's going to look out of scale. I do realise that, but essentially, if they were to ever do it, I think it'd have to be in a playset form, and I think it would have to be something on the lines of what they did with the original Kenner days, and have like a little playset of maybe of the front of it, like the bridge or something, possibly something like that. But will it come anytime soon? I very much doubt it. Sussy Minion says, question for Bossk's Bounty. Do you think they will re-release Bossk in the vintage collection? I can only say I hope so. Only for the fact that obviously all those people out there that didn't manage to get this guy the first time around years and years ago when he was on the vintage Saga line. He has been re-released since then in the Saga Legends, I think it was. This figure is phenomenal. I've said it many, many times. What a figure, what a facial sculpt. All the articulation you're ever going to need. So yeah, why not? Bring him out as a reissue. Absolutely. Delvian Seek says, would you like to see any figures from the Rebels cartoon series but made more realistic in the vintage collection? 100% yes, I think I would. I think we need an Ezra. We need a Hera. We need all of the gang really in the vintage collection in my opinion. But the human characters, I do agree that I would prefer them to be more humanised, if that makes sense, more realistic as you put, purely because that is how I think the vintage collection is, and they did it obviously with the Anakin and the Obi-Wan. Maybe that's why they haven't done that yet. Maybe they're struggling to do that. Maybe in the future they're thinking maybe the Rebels cartoon characters will have a live action show, like Disney seem to like doing that, don't they, with their Lion King and what have you, making live action versions of their cartoons. So perhaps in the future that's the way Star Wars might go. They might make a live action Clone Wars, live action Rebels. I'm all for it, bring it on. Colin Rusco Hawksworth says, with all the negativity being reported about episode 9, do you think this will slow down the release rate of the sequel characters? So I'm not really on board with all this negativity about episode 9. It's made $1 billion. That's a lot more than most films out there. Okay, it's not as much as they would have liked, and okay, it's annoyed a few people and what have you, but I think it's the best of the sequel trilogy. I myself am an OT fan. I like the prequels as well. I love the Clone Wars. The sequel trilogy for me, it's been okay. I wouldn't say it's been groundbreaking or absolutely amazing or anything. I much prefer The Mandalorian from what Disney have put out. I much prefer Rogue One. That's just my personal opinion. Will I think it will slow down the release rate of figures? Possibly not. And if that is the case, then I hope it speeds up the release of something that's done well. So if that's the thinking behind Hasbro and Lucasfilm about what they release, you know, if the sequel trilogy's done bad, we'll slow down on figures on that. But if The Mandalorian's done well, which it has, then we'll throw loads of figures out. I hope that's the case, because I want the Mandalorian figures. Eat Don says, do you have a Shaq T figure? And do you think we'll see other Jedi in Season 7 of the Clone Wars? Unfortunately, mate, I do not have a Shaq T figure. I'd love one, but I just don't have one. So, but do I think we'll see other Jedi in Season 7 of the Clone Wars? I think we will, and I think you'll probably see a lot of them die, to be honest, because I think that's going to sort of concentrate on Order 66 a little bit, isn't it? That might be right at the end. I think we're going to see Order 66. Alex Valdez says, loving your videos. Thank you very much, Alex. Do you think the upcoming Obi-Wan show for Disney Plus will be produced with the same level of quality as Mandalorian? If so, could this be the future platform for Star Wars films? So, I think there's been a bit of rumours recently. They're having some issues with the Kenobi show, isn't there? So, maybe some falling out with Ewan McGregor, creative differences, all this kind of thing. I hope that's completely untrue, because I really do want the Kenobi series. And if it is anywhere near the quality of The Mandalorian, it is going to be an exceptional TV programme. Whether that will dictate the future of Star Wars films is another matter. I think the Star Wars films need to be seen on the big screen, and that's kind of what they're designed for. You need that whole experience. But I'm sure the films that we do get that get pushed out in the cinema will soon be on Disney Plus pretty quick smart, you know. I don't think they'll be hanging around for Blu-ray releases and things like that. I think if you're a Disney Plus subscriber, you might get that content a bit earlier, you know, once it's left cinemas and things like that. Who knows? Mitch, 80s Kid Toy Hunter, says, in a 6-inch size figure for the Black Series, would you like to see the Bartender and other characters that were in the movie for less than 2 minutes, like the Dr. Bully guy who shoves Luke? I love the way how you describe him, because that's kind of how I describe Star Wars characters. I always get mixed up with the names of him, but I think you're talking about Dr. Evazan. Is that his name? Is that how you pronounce it? But I'll always call him the Bartender, you know, instead of Woohoo or whatever, or Wooher, whatever his name is. It's just the way I am. That is how I remember these people. Whether they'll make them for the 6-inch line, I don't know. I think they've got a lot of, you know, big characters still to make from the latest films and TV shows to go back to the original trilogy and give us like a character, as you say, that's been on screen for 2 minutes. Whether it's, you know, unless it's like a trooper of some description that they know that will just fly off the shelves. When it comes to those little background characters, I really can't see it, but you never know. Stormy TK421 and JN420. Hey Bossk Bounty, do you think we will ever get Jedi Ben Solo from the flashback in The Last Jedi? I don't know. I think they've got too much to do when, instead of going back to characters like that. I think if it's 2010, 2008 or wherever, I think, yeah, you could probably put your hat on it that they'd make that figure, but I don't think they'll do it now. A good friend of mine, John Tyler Christopher, actually put out a variant comic cover with the figure that you're talking about here, so it's Jedi Ben Solo. But yeah, who knows, but I doubt it. Peter Marlowe says, will we ever get a 3.75 inch ARC Trooper 5s? Oh, I hope so, mate. I really do hope so. That would be awesome. Clone Wars coming back. Hark back to the Clone Wars. Bring figures out from the previous Clone Wars. Everyone wants an ARC Trooper 5s. Surely everyone wants an ARC Trooper 5s. Come on, Hasbro. Give us the ARC Trooper 5s. Starvel Boy says, do you think we'll ever get a Vintage Collection A-Wing this year? Maybe not this year. Possibly. You never know. Rise of Skywalker had A-Wings. I think they had a nice green one parked there, didn't they, before they went off for the final attack? You saw it for a couple of seconds anyway. That'd be pretty cool if they did that. But then again, if it's me, I'd want the original A-Wing from the original trilogy. We desperately need that in the Vintage Collection. So who knows? But yeah, if they are going to make it, I don't think it'll be this year. But you never know. You never know. RS Crushed says, question for next time. Do you think if they make more pieces for Jabba's palace, would they include a Jabba figure like in the sail barge? That's a good question, because I think if they did make extra pieces and it was perhaps the throne room piece, which is kind of the piece that we need to complete that sort of scene, I think they'd have to, because you couldn't release the throne room without the person that sits on the throne. But then again, it is quite a big figure to include in a playset like that, because if they did go down that line, they'd probably want to stick a couple of figures in it as well, because that's kind of the theme that they've gone to with these play sets. Obviously, the Jabba's Palace had 2 figures in it. The Carbon Freezing Chamber that is coming this year, to all you Facebook haters, it is coming this year, is going to have 2 figures in it as well. Okay then, guys, thank you very much for watching. Just before I go, I just wanted to show you this Gonk droid here. This is the Elite series that I got from my trip to Galaxy's Edge. Got it really reduced from $29 to $12.99 or something, and I'm actually really pleased with it. It's a super heavy die-cast Gonk droid. Sits on his own little stand there. If I can get him back on, you don't even need to really. He stands up by himself, but I really like this guy. His legs move, not too much, but wobble around a little bit, but loads of detail on that guy. In actual fact, somebody asked me earlier in the video what is my favourite original vintage figure. The Gonk droid, the little blue one, is another fantastic figure. Can't forget about him. Alright then, guys, as I said, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to drop a like down on the video if you enjoyed the video. Likes do help the video. Comment down below with your question for next week's episode. You never know, it might get read out. I get a lot of questions, but I do try to answer as many as I possibly can. So I do apologise if you've missed out this week. Subscribe if you're new to the channel, and we shall see you on the next video.